everyone. So today's topic is clauses, independent and dependent clauses. So let's begin. What is a clause? A clause is a group of words which contain at least a subject and a verb. So a clause is also a group of words like phrase. You must have seen in my previous video that I explained phrases. So now I'm taking the topic clause. So it is also a group of words like phrase, but it has sense, it has meaning, and it is with a subject and a verb. And as you know that if a subject and verb is there, that means it has meaning. Clauses are not always a complete thought and so may need to be joined with other clauses to express a complete thought and become a sentence. So a clause has sense or thought, or it conveys an idea, but not always a complete thought. So sometimes they need to be joined with other clauses to convey a complete thought and it becomes a sentence. For example, you can see here, when I came here, I saw him. So here you can see that these two parts are underlined. First one is when I came here. So when I came here, this has a subject I and came, that is verb. So subject and verb both are here. Apart from that, other words are also there, and it has a sense or meaning. It conveys a meaning. And the second one is I saw him. So I saw him, that is also a complete idea or thought, but here you can see that two clauses are joined together to complete a sense, or you can say complete a sentence. So there are two types of clauses. First one is independent clause and the second one is dependent clause. So first I'm taking an independent clause and then I'll explain this example, then you'll understand it clearly. An independent clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb and expresses a complete thought. So if I say I saw him, so I saw him, it conveys a complete thought. If I say I saw him, that means you can understand easily that what I want to say. An independent clause can stand alone as complete sentence. So for example, if I say I saw him, if I say only I saw him, that means it conveys a complete thought and it doesn't need any other clause to complete its meaning. But when it is joined with dependent clause or any other clause, then it has more sense, or you can say then it becomes a complex sentence. So an independent clause is also a group of words which conveys a complete thought and it stands itself. That means it doesn't need any other clause to complete its meaning. Now the next one is dependent clause. So a dependent clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb. So it is also like independent clause. It also has a subject and verb but does not express a complete thought. Unlike independent clause, an independent clause expresses a complete thought, but a dependent clause does not express a complete thought. It is dependent on independent clause to complete its meaning. They can't stand alone as complete sentences because they begin with subordinating conjunctions. And what's the reason? Because they starts with a subordinating conjunction, that's why they don't have a complete sense. For example, if I say when I came here, when I came here, that has a sense, meaning, but if I say when I came here, you will expect something from me to complete, because it's not very clear that what I want to say when I came here. So it needs another clause to complete its meaning. So when I say when I came here, I saw him. Now this is a complete sentence. So when I came here, that is dependent clause, and I saw him, that is independent clause. Now there are few examples from which you will understand very clearly, and it will be easy for you to differentiate between independent clause and dependent clause. So first one is Asif plays hockey as he enjoys it. So Asif plays hockey, that is independent clause because it has complete meaning. It doesn't need any other clause to complete its sense. But if I say as he enjoys it, so as he enjoys it that also has a subject and a verb, but it needs other clause to complete its meaning because it starts with as. So it doesn't have complete meaning, so you can't understand with this. So it needs an independent clause to complete its meaning. Next one is Shazia could not catch the bus. That is independent because it's giving complete sense because she was late. So these two are joined using because. Ali could not finish the mathematics test. So this is independent clause. Although he knew all the sums. So this is dependent clause. Next one, Arifa quickly ate her lunch. This is independent clause as she was very hungry. And this is dependent clause. Next one is Harif is back from work. Independent, so he must take rest. This is dependent clause. Now the last one is you must work hard. This is independent. And the next one, if you want to succeed in life. This is dependent clause. So it's very easy to understand and differentiate between independent and dependent clause. Independent clause, as you can see in all these examples, stands itself. That means it doesn't need any other clause to complete its sense. And the dependent clauses need another clause to complete its meaning. Now, there are few rules which you need to keep in your mind always. We'll start with connecting independent clause. So, when we need to connect two independent clauses, what do we do and what are the rules for it when we connect two independent clauses? We'll start with this coordinating conjunctions. In my previous video, if you have watched, you must be aware that what are coordinating conjunctions. Fanboys, I have clearly explained in my previous video conjunctions, that how do we use, how to connect the words or sentences. If you have not watched, just watch it. It will be helpful to connect and understand the clauses. Now let's start. The 7 coordinating conjunctions, fanboys, used as connecting words at the beginning of an independent clause. These 7 coordinating conjunctions are, which I have already explained in my previous video, conjunctions, fanboys: and, but, for, or, nor, so, and yet. So when we join two independent clauses, we need to use coordinating conjunctions or all these 7 conjunctions. For example, you can see here Jim studied in the sweet shop for his chemistry quiz, but it was hard to concentrate because of the noise. So here you can see but is used to connect these two independent clauses. Now how will you understand independent clause? Jim studied in the sweet shop for his chemistry quiz. So it has a complete sense. And if I say it was hard to concentrate because of the noise, so this is also an independent clause. So we are joining these two independent clauses using but conjunction, that is coordinating conjunction. Now there is something which you need to keep in your mind. Note that when the second independent clause, that means I'm talking about this second clause, it was hard to concentrate. So when the second independent clause in a sentence begins with a coordinating conjunction, that means but. A comma is needed before the coordinating conjunction. So if we are starting this and a coordinating conjunction is written in middle, that means before the second independent clause, so here we need to put comma. So you need to keep in mind. Next one, when we join two clauses and one clause is dependent and the another clause is independent. First, now I have explained that how to join two independent clause, but now I'm going to explain how to connect a dependent and an independent clause, and this is actually complex. You need to understand it very clearly. Subordinating conjunctions allow writers to construct complex sentences. So when we are joining a dependent and an independent clause, so subordinating conjunctions are used. For example, you can see here after, as, before, once, since, until, while. All these are subordinating conjunctions which have an independent clause and an dependent clause. So when we are joining these two, we need to use subordinating conjunctions. Either clause can come first. Either you can use dependent clause in the beginning, or you can use independent clause in the beginning. It's not necessary that in the beginning you need to use independent clause and afterwards you need to use dependent clause. You may use any before, but there are few rules which we need to keep in mind. Some common subordinating conjunctions are after, as, before, once, since, until, or while. Here, when I'm going to take the example, it will be easy for you to understand how to put a comma and how we are using dependent and an independent clause in a sentence. So you can see the same example I have taken. The students acted differently whenever a substitute taught in the class. So you can see here the students acted differently. This is independent clause, and if I say whenever a substitute taught in the class, this starts with whenever. So this is dependent clause. And now the same example is given in the second sentence but in different way. Whenever a substitute taught in the class. So here you can see in first sentence the sentence starts with independent clause, but in second sentence you can see the sentence starts with dependent clause. The only thing you can see the difference is that when we are starting a sentence with dependent clause and the independent clause is written in the last, so here we need to put comma. Whenever a substitute taught in the class, the students acted differently. So here we need to put comma. But in first sentence, if we are starting with independent clause, there is no need of putting a comma after a clause. You can see the students acted differently whenever a substitute taught in the class. So here there is no need to put a comma, but whenever we start a sentence with dependent clause, it is must that you need to put a comma before the independent clause starts. So it is actually very important rule, and mostly the people do mistakes. And note that the clauses are separated with a comma, with dependent clause comes first. So this is, I have already explained that when we use here, then we need to put comma. Now here are few examples to clarify the meaning. Identify the underlined clause. So I will stop playing I will stop playing the drums when you go to sleep. So I will stop playing the drums. This is underlined words, and this is independent clause because it has a complete sense. Now the next one is I will go to the market if you come with me. So if you come with me, that is dependent clause. It starts with if, and it needs another clause to complete its meaning. I hope you have understood. So let's begin with few exercises. If you don't fix the car, it will continue to leak oil. So these words which are written in bold letters, what are they? They are independent clause. You can see it will continue to leak oil, that is independent clause. Next one is I can't go to the movies since I don't have any money. So since I don't have any money, that is dependent clause. Now the third one is I will stop playing the drums when you go to sleep. So I will stop playing the drums. It has complete sense, complete meaning. So this is independent clause. So I hope you have understood. If you have any doubt, any query, you can write in comment. So thank you so much. I hope you liked it. If you have liked it, just click on like button and share my video and subscribe to my channel for more updates. Thank you for watching.